Like almost every PT I've ever had start a business, I'd say 10% of PTs opened a business because they wanted to run a business. The 90% is they hated the place they were at because of the volume that they had to see because there's these mills, or they felt that the treatment was unethical because they were required so much volume that they had to use techs across the board, or they just had any of these other constraints that you kind of have with the big mills. So they're like, I can do it better. Like that's the number one reason why someone starts, is because like everybody in the PT profession is like super passionate about helping people. And so they don't feel okay with not being able to do what they know is better for the patient. And so then they go out to do it on their own. And there's the kind of two buckets of people: the people that actually have realistic expectations of what will happen, or the people that kind of go into it, I'll just figure it out as I go. And like they're kind of hit over the head with like, oh shit, like this is actually a lot harder. Yesterday, I had someone has 3 clinics that needs to close 2 of them, and she wants to potentially close all of her business. Like that's a tough one. But she pretty much is like, I just need to think everything over because like I need to figure out if I actually want to keep doing this or not. Same thing that happened with Julie Dinkelman. She was, I'm closing my business or I'm starting with y'all. Now she's doing $15,000 a month of profit. She's disenfranchised with all of the PT mills. She's insurance, so she hates it. So I asked her what she'd do if she actually, she's in Colorado that's continued to just have like more and more that are capped at how much they pay. We market to past patients that are higher payers. We go specifically to marketing for your higher payers. So like in most places, balance and fall outside of like the Northwest, or sorry, Medicare outside of like the Northwest is one of their higher payers. So typically we do like a balance and fall risk ad to get more Medicare. So then we can do that. Past patients, we're only marketing to higher payers instead of like a United Healthcare. And so we start to get them those people more and more and more and more. So they see that we can actually kind of do that. And then from there, we make the cut of the United Healthcare. So then we can backfill them quicker. Really, they keep 60 to 80% of the United Healthcare people anyways. It's just they start seeing them on an out-of-network basis. And so they are able to do that. So like that's what Joel Black did with their 7 clinics. They were 20% United Healthcare. And so like we were able to backfill them pretty much completely across the board. And so like now they're printing. I think it's actually pretty common. Like almost every PT I've ever had start a business, I'd say 10% of PTs opened a business because they wanted to run a business. The 90% is they hated the place they were at because of the volume that they had to see because there's these mills, or they felt that the treatment was unethical because they were required so much volume that they had to use techs across the board, or they just had any of these other constraints that you kind of have with the big mills. So they're like, I can do it better. Like that's the number one reason why someone starts, because like everybody in the PT profession is like super passionate about helping people. And so they don't feel okay with not being able to do what they know is better for the patient. And so then they go out to do it on their own. And there's the kind of two buckets of people: the people that actually have realistic expectations of what will happen, or the people that kind of go into it, I'll just figure it out as I go. And like they're kind of hit over the head with like, oh shit, like this is actually a lot harder. And so you kind of have to adapt really quick. And so depending on when they opened, if they opened 20 years ago, we were in the heyday of like reimbursements and like people were printing regardless of how good of an owner they are. Now, in some states, you not only have to become a very good PT and have a good product, but you have to be a very, very good operator, because the margins are not where you need to if you decide to stay in with a lot of the insurances, because some of them are starting to cap and they're only paying you $50, $60, $70, regardless of how long you see them. The hard thing is those are really popular in some of these areas. Like I have people that are 20 to 25% United Healthcare, but they cap at $70. It's very hard to make a living on $70 a visit, especially since salaries are typically only wanting to go up for people who graduate. And so they kind of get trapped into this, holy shit, I'm actually becoming a mill. For me, I have a different definition of a mill. Some people are like, hey, you see a certain amount of volume, you're a mill. I think a mill is seeing people for only financial gain and not the benefit of the patient. Because what that means is like they are giving them shit care. They're using techs. They're doing things that like realistically, and I'm not anti-tech. It's tech for the specific reasons people are doing it. They've got one tech who's seeing 2 people. The PT's so busy with 2 other people, they're not even paying attention to what's going on. Like there's all of that. And so people start to have to do the only one thing they know how to do. They don't know how to renegotiate contracts, because some of them you can, some of them you can't. They don't know how to market better, so they can't attract higher payers. They don't know how to sell, so they don't know how to sell someone if they were to go out to network. It's like they have salaries, and so in their head, it's like, hey, if I cut this payer, that's maybe my expense per visit is actually 80, United Healthcare pays me 70. Yes, I lose $10 every single time I see one of these, but if I lost 20% of my payer mix, I still have an $80,000 a year salary for a PT. So I'm actually going to lose even more if I cut them. And so it becomes this scary game of like unpredictability unless you know how to get new patients on demand and or sell people and out of network or look at your model to see if there's something you could change there. And so like sometimes we've actually had people go from seeing people every 30 minutes to switching to every 40 minutes. They make more money. They don't have to use as much text. They have less burnout and it actually makes more sense for them because like if you look at your federals and a 2 hour time period, you can do 3 units, 3 units, 3 units of timed codes. So you get 9 during that 2 hour time period. If you're doing 60-minute one-on-one, you can only do 4 units and 4 units. So you only get 8. So people are kind of optimizing these things. Like, oh, I got to stretch this Medicare out for 60 minutes. So I get 4 units, but you could actually make more if you actually did 40 minutes. So like people don't see some of these hidden profit levers. And so it's a weird trap because your go-to answer for almost anything in business is use the one hammer you have. Like for me, I am very good at marketing and sales. Of course, there's better people out there in the world somewhere, but like that is my skill set. So most of the ways I try to solve problems is marketing and sales. But like that was the issue I was running into in my business before I partnered with Robbie. It was everything was marketing and sales, and I didn't understand why I could make it rain leads with so many people, but some people crushed and some people didn't because they had a back end model issue. So like he has operations and all of that type skill set to be able to fix that. But you always default to the thing that you're really good at. And so if you're not very good at seeing all the fundamentals and seeing some of those things or marketing or sales, your default answer is, well, in the past, I know that if I see more people, I can maybe make this work. Or the other thing that we see is if I hire one more person, we'll finally get out of this. Like that is the most common thing I hear ever. It's like, I just feel like I need one more therapist and we'll be good. They hire the extra therapist, their bank account does not move anymore, but now they just have more risk, more people to manage, and less room to actually bring in somebody that actually makes profit because they're not set up appropriately.